Hi, everyone. We're very deeply honored to be with you today. And we're going to tell you the story of a little 15-year-old kid who became a culinary rock star, and a 15-year-old kid who 50 years after he started and 20 years after he passed away is still more alive than ever. So this is the story of our father, Bernard Loiseau, who had but one dream in his life and one culinary vision. He started in 1975 at La Côte d'Or in the middle of Burgundy, in the middle of nowhere, called Saulieu, in the Morvan. And he had one vision, and he never ceased to look at his dream since he started. Everything was against him when he got to Saulieu. No stars anymore.
No.
Because the property was one of the very first three-Michelin-stars of history of the Guide Michelin in the 30s, called La Côte d'Or from Alexandre Dumaine. And no stars, the highway was getting built, the shutters were falling down from the roof, from the windows. He had to build everything again. But he kept his dream alive. He fought for it. And 77, he got his first star, 81st, his second star, and then 1991, he got his third star. And his dream was triggered when he was 15 years old, when he was just an apprentice at the Trois Gros. And they had just gotten their third star. And so they were popping up all the champagne and stuff. And the little kid said, "This is what I want. I'm going to get it." And it took him years and years, lots of sacrifices, but he built it. And he had tremendous values, and we're going to talk about it with Blanche afterwards. He said, if I did this job, if I became a chef, it's for two reasons. The first is because I love people and I want to please them. And the second one is I love to eat. But that's very important to tell you because it's not an egotistic movement within him. He was just here for the people. He was a humanist before anything else. This is our family. Mom always says, "Can you imagine that among the three kids, one of them was going to become a chef? This is a miracle." Voilà. And so this dream consumed him completely. It was his only one reason of being alive, to get the third star. And us as a family, we lived this. So we were the second goal in his life, the kids, but the number one was getting his star and La Côte d'Or. His artwork was the number one, and the only thing, I think, the only thing we would talk at home, La Côte d'Or. But, so he became a culinary icon, a huge rock star. All the major chefs from now were trained by him. He was in France. He was not the most famous chefs in France. He was the number one celebrity in France with sportsman politics. He was the most beloved person in France. But what we always forget is his culinary vision. I'm going to let the chef talk to you about it.
So I think my dad's main idea was shaped by listening to his guests. And I think we're doing a work of hospitality mainly, and welcoming and feeding people. And at the time, in the 70s, he would have people come and like, "Oh, I don't want to eat a big menu. It's going to be super heavy." And so he was like, people can't come to the restaurant being scared of what they're going to eat. So he started really going to the purity of taste. So taking away butter, taking away cream, taking away sugar in the dessert, in the 70s in France. So
Yeah.
people were like, he's mad. The newspaper were quoting him like a water cuisine because there was like nothing fun. It was insanely good, and they discovered that later. And people would go there, and his main everything in our life, in our hospitality, is shaped by our guests, listening to them, and we'll see about it in all of the parts of our lives. And so it's about focusing on produce. So first we started with sauce. So sauce, how we see now, the meat and water and then reduction. And in order to give texture, he had like a palette of vegetable purees, very, very fine, in order to thicken the sauce and season them as he wanted it. So this was maybe one of the biggest revolution in French cuisine at the time.
Instead of the roux,
Yeah,
you know,
instead
the
of
mixture
roux,
with
no flour, no
butter
butter,
and flour. Yep.
nothing heavy. And you rediscovered produce. It wasn't hidden by cream, it wasn't hidden by butter, it wasn't hidden by anything. And so you see on the left, the frog's legs. It's one of his most famous dish.
Right.
And he had this idea of taking like everyday food, like frog's legs is just one of our very popular countryside dish. A lot of butter, a lot of garlic. And here you have the garlic that was cooked in 8 different waters to make a perfect puree with nothing else, no butter, no cream, just pure garlic without the strong flavor, and make it how to do everyday cooking through three-Michelin-star. I think that was one of his ideas, and rediscover really the purity, the raw flavors. And at the time, he always really loved his producers. Like everybody thinks he's from Burgundy. My dad not actually from Burgundy, but he was so in love with the countryside, with the producers of the produce, the products. He would take them on any TV show, any newspaper, any radio, and trying to promote it. And it's still very alive now. Now we're talking about locavorism and how to stay local. But I mean, for us, it's very part of our DNA because it was already that in the 70s.
He used to say, the star is not the chef, it's the product.
It's the product.
Yeah. And I can't be Bernard Loiseau if I don't have a good carrot.
I like good carrots. And so here is a little overview of our place. And then...
That's the trio Bernard Loiseau.
Yeah.
So all the major inventions that Blanche just talked about are now taught in school. Like they were one of the milestones that moved French cuisine into what we know now.
La Nouvelle Cuisine.
It was called La Nouvelle Cuisine in the 70s and 80s. And Dad was one of the most prominent pusher in the movement. Yeah. And then, when he was at the top of the world in 2003, he committed suicide. He was at his utmost. Everything was fantastic. The property was more beautiful than ever. He was most famous than ever, and we were developing. And then he decided to go. Imagine the genius culinary artist, charismatic leader, the most beloved man in France, culinary icon, all of a sudden, just like this, gone. Everything was to be shut down, right?